Hello everyone, this is Tango back again, and today I've got another tutorial for you for an infinite villager spawning system. Now, many of you probably seen my previous one, which was designed specifically to combat a bug that was in the game at the time where baby villagers would glitch through the walls when you log in and out of the game. Well, they have finally since fixed that bug, so it's time to move on to something a little bit better. And this one's got quite a few advantages over my old design, but first it's going to retain one of the primary benefits of the old design, which was it's only going to spawn adult villagers. As you can see, the baby villagers are going to wait inside to grow up before they are released, so that is a good thing. But on top of that, there are quite a few other advantages. The first one you'll notice, obviously, is the footprint. This is going to fit inside a 5x5 footprint, which is significantly smaller than my old design. Now, with the minor exception of these 4 blocks right here do need to be solid, so they kind of do stick out of that footprint a little bit, but if you're building this up against a wall or something, that's not even really going to matter. On top of that now, you'll notice that the villagers, both the babies and the adults, are not standing in water, so that's a lot less jumping, a lot less swimming, and a lot less lag on your system. Now, third, the entire design is very scalable, so if you want to use this to just spawn the occasional villager here and there, it'll work for that. Or if you want to go absolutely crazy and dump 200 villagers in there goes one now, it's going to put out some pretty ridiculous rates. So unlike my previous design, if you want to change the rates, you do not have to restructure or reshape the design at all. And finally, and probably most importantly, this design's got some pretty significant advantages for those of you that have built or are considering building the Iron Trench, my iron golem farm. And I'll go over those advantages at the end of the video. But first, let me explain how this works. Alright, the way this system works is pretty straightforward. First, you'll see there's kind of 2 holding areas here for the villagers. The one right here is for adult villagers and newly created baby villagers. And over there is the holding area for the baby villagers that are waiting to grow up. So the way the system works here is baby villagers take 20 minutes of real time exactly to grow into adults. And 20 minutes is exactly how long a day is in Minecraft. So what we have here is a daylight sensor. Once a day, that power is going to go down to 0, and when it powers back up to 1, it's going to go into this little pulse limiter here, which is going to send a quick pulse through the system. And that pulse is going to first retract this piston here, allowing a little space on that block there. Split second later, it's going to extend this piston, which is going to push across any baby villagers that have been bred that day into the adjacent block over there. The adult villagers will not be hurt, and they're not going to be moved because of this glass block here. And then a split second later, this is going to be repowered and push those baby villagers into the holding area over here, where they're going to hang out until they grow up into adults. When they do, their head is going to poke into that water source block, and they're going to swim up and out of your system wherever you want to take them, just like those guys up there. So pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Okay, real quick, before we build this thing, I want to show you what resources you are going to need. I will mention that for the glass, that's going to be pretty much determined on how high you want to lift them or how far you want to make the villagers go away from the system is going to determine how much glass you need. For water, you're either going to need a whole ton of water buckets or a nearby water source, or it might be a little bit smarter to get some Silk Touch ice blocks and just break those. And then, of course, just a stack of blocks of your choice. Alright, to get started, you're going to need a 2x3 1 deep hole just like this, wherever you want the bottom of your entire spawning system to be. Then go ahead and place 6 doors right inside there, like that. Then grab some blocks and put them on top of each of those doors, just like that. Now what you're going to need to do is take that line there, that 2x3, and extend it down another 3 blocks just like this. This is the back, and these are those 4 blocks that stick out of the footprint that I was telling you about before. Then at this point, you want to go ahead and get a villager in the bottom there. Now, go ahead and take 2 more blocks right there. Take your daylight sensor, put it right there, block like that, and go ahead and get your sticky piston and stick it right on the side like that. Put some dust right there. It's going to power the piston. Put a block on top of the piston and 1 on side like that. Take a repeater pointing away from the piston. Put it on maximum delay. Now take a block and have that repeater point right into it. On top of that block, go ahead and spike a torch. And then on top of that torch, put a block on the top and 1 on the side. Take some dust and go on top of both of those blocks. Now you're going to need a lever, and go ahead and put it right there on the side like that. Take another block, go up like that right there, put a torch on top of it, add 1 block adjacent, and take a repeater coming away from the torch, leave that on minimum tick. Now you're going to go over to swing around the side here and go to your sticky pistons, put it right on the side of that repeater so the repeater is pointing right into it, and go ahead and put some glass right on the front of it. Now, looking down to your 2x6 platform below, on that block right there, you want to come up 2 and then break that one. You don't need it. Now, what you're going to do here is form like a little L, just like that. Go ahead and take another sticky piston and put it right on the edge of that dust right there. Should look just like this. And go ahead and put glass right there. Now, what you're going to have here, this is going to be the block where your adult villagers are going to be sitting. This is going to be the block where your baby villagers are growing up. So what you want to do is kind of build up both of those areas like this. And now just keep building it up. You want that, whoops, leave the hole there. And you want this to be 3 high. And go ahead and get 2 villagers inside that hole there. 1, 2. And go ahead and flick this lever here. And that's going to, like I said, put them on breed mode so that as they make some babies, the daylight sensor is not going to open the gates here or anything, and you can grow. When you want to turn the system on, when you get sufficient villagers in there, and you can always tell how many are in there, or at least a rough estimate, by checking your entity count, which is the E in the upper left corner. You'll see right now I have 3, which is the 2 villagers in there and the 1 below. Once you have the number of villagers you want in there, then go ahead and lift that system, or lift that lever just like that. Now, over here, we need a block right there, I should say, because when this piston here retracts, you don't want the baby villagers to shoot out. Now, let's go ahead and build up our child holding area, so go ahead and do that right there. Grab a sign and place it right on the bottom right there. Go ahead and add another level of glass and grab a water source and put it right on top of the sign. Now at this point you're free to take the villagers wherever you want. You know, if you want to curve them over to the side you could do that, but for this example we're just going to keep going straight up. So keep adding water source blocks. It's got to be water source blocks all the way up. If you have water flowing down, they're going to drown and not swim up, and they're going to be very sad and die. If you are going to lift them up, I'd say more than 10 blocks or so, you're going to want to take a sign and give them a little air gap in there. And then just continue your water source blocks right on top like that. That's going to give them a little breath of air so that they're not going to get hurt and they're not going to die as they're swimming up. Okay, next, and very important, in order for these 6 doors down here to be registered as valid village doors, and in order for your villagers in there to start breeding, you're going to need to have these 2 blocks right here be exposed all the way up to the sun. So just to be clear here, I'm going to add some gold blocks. These are not part of the build, but they're just to signify these need to be air blocks, everything in these 2 blocks and all the Y coordinates all the way up. So carrying that up even further, it's going to be those, everything in between those blocks needs to either be air or glass only. Water does block sunlight access, so if your villagers aren't spawning, I would recommend double checking and making sure that you have correct sky access all the way up for all those blocks. Obviously don't have gold blocks there, alright? Okay, so a few minutes ago I had mentioned that this village spawning system was going to provide some significant benefits to my iron golem farm, the Iron Trench. So some of you who may have been following it will know that the Iron Trench has a potential issue if you are in a world that has a lot of villagers in it, meaning if you have more than 65 villagers loaded, it opens the door to a slight chance of the Iron Trench not building correctly. The more villagers you have in the world, the more that chance increases for the Iron Trench to not rebuild itself correctly. It is still a slim chance, I do want to stress. But what I realized, it is not 65 villagers. I did a little bit more poking around in the code. It is not 65 villagers, unique villagers that matters. It is 65 unique villager positions in the queue that matter. And what that means is if 2 villagers are standing in the same block, it only counts as 1 position in that queue. So, in other words, this system is great because we could stack 200 villagers right there if we really wanted to, and it is only going to count as 1 position in that cap of 65. So this whole system is going to add only 3, it's only going to take up 3 slots in that queue. 1 for the adults there, 1 for whatever potential babies are growing, and 1 for the one down below it. So, very good news. You guys don't have to worry about building this design if you have an Iron Trench. Go ahead and load it up as much as you want, and it is not going to affect the Iron Trench's ability to rebuild itself. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up here. If you have any questions or comments about how this build works, just go ahead and leave a comment to the video, and I will do my best to get back to it. I try to read most of them. Also, if you thought this build was kind of interesting and you may build it in your world someday, then do me a favor, go ahead and like the video. I'd definitely appreciate it, and it helps me out. Talk to you guys later.